Boundaries are easiest to admire in theory and hardest to practice at the dinner table. It is one thing to say, "I am responsible for my choices." It is another thing to say to a parent who knows exactly which guilt button was installed in childhood. It is one thing to respect another person's no. It is another thing to hear no from a spouse and not treat it as rejection. This is where boundaries becomes painfully concrete. Welcome back to this summary of boundaries. In this episode, we cover the relationship conflicts in the middle of the book: family, friends, and marriage. The family chapter begins with a simple observation. Many adults leave home physically long before they leave emotionally. They may have their own house, spouse, children, job, and bank account, yet still live as if the original family system owns their choices. A parent's disappointment can feel like a command. A sibling's crisis can override every plan. A holiday can become a hostage negotiation with food. Cloud and Townsend do not tell readers to despise family. They argue the opposite. Family relationships matter deeply. But love for family becomes distorted when adulthood never becomes adulthood. If an adult child cannot choose without panic, guilt, or emotional punishment, the family boundary is still confused. One common pattern is the guilt message. A parent may not directly say, "You must do what I want." Instead, the message is wrapped in sadness, sacrifice, illness, loneliness, or spiritual concern. The adult child is trained to feel responsible for the parent's emotional state. The book's response is blunt in principle. Compassion is good, but another adult's feelings are not your master. Another pattern is triangulation. Instead of speaking directly to the person involved, family members pull in a third person. A mother complains to one child about another. A sibling recruits allies. A spouse uses the extended family to pressure the partner. Triangles avoid direct responsibility. Boundaries require people to carry their own messages to the proper person. The authors also describe old boundary injuries. If a family punished separateness, adulthood may require grief. You may have to accept that some relatives prefer the old version of you because the old version was easier to control. That does not make them monsters. It does mean growth may disturb the family balance. Healthy family boundaries often begin with small acts of truth. "I cannot come this weekend. I will not discuss that through someone else. I am willing to help with this amount of time or money, not unlimited time or money. I love you, and I will leave the conversation if it becomes insulting." These statements sound simple. In a guilt-trained soul, they can feel like a revolution. The friendship chapter shifts the focus. Friendship should be one of the freest places in life, but boundary problems can quietly turn friendship into obligation, rescue, or avoidance. The book describes different friendship patterns. One is the compliant friendship, where both people are nice, neither says what they want, and both secretly hope the other will guess. It sounds peaceful until resentment piles up under the politeness. Two people can be extremely considerate and still dishonest if neither will speak clearly. Another pattern is the compliant person with the aggressive controller. One friend gives in, the other pushes. The compliant friend feels used, but continues to participate. The controller may not even recognize the imbalance because the other person's yes has been so automatic. There is also the compliant person with the manipulative controller. Here the pressure is softer. The controlling friend may be charming, needy, wounded, or full of emergencies. The compliant friend feels cruel for saying no, so the pattern continues. Avoidant friendships have another problem. Two people may genuinely care about each other, but both hide need. They talk about events, work, jokes, and other people, but never bring their real hunger, fear, grief, or desire into the relationship. The friendship stays safe and shallow. Cloud and Townsend's vision of friendship is neither domination nor distance. A healthy friend can say yes freely, say no honestly, ask for help, receive help, and survive disappointment. Friendship grows when both people can tell the truth and remain connected. Then the book turns to marriage, where boundary confusion can become especially intense because two lives are joined so closely. The authors reject the idea that marriage means two people stop having separate ownership. Unity is not the same as fusion. A healthy marriage has togetherness and separateness. The key principle is that spouses cannot control each other into maturity. A husband cannot make his wife be emotionally open by nagging, withdrawing, or punishing. A wife cannot make her husband become responsible by rescuing him from every consequence and then resenting him. Each spouse has power over his or her own choices, words, limits, and participation. This is where many couples get stuck. One spouse says, "I set a boundary," but what they mean is, "I told the other person what they must do." Boundaries are not commands for someone else's property. A boundary says what I will do, what I will accept, what I will participate in, and what consequence I will choose if the pattern continues. For example, you cannot set a boundary that says, "You must stop yelling." That is a wish or request aimed at the other person's behavior. A boundary says, "I want to talk, but I will not stay in a conversation where I am being yelled at. I will pause and come back when we can speak respectfully." The difference is enormous. One tries to control the other governs the self. The book also warns against enabling in marriage. If one spouse repeatedly absorbs the consequences of the other's irresponsibility, the irresponsible pattern may deepen. Love does not mean preventing a spouse from ever experiencing the harvest of choices. Sometimes love tells the truth and lets reality arrive. But boundaries in marriage are not a license for coldness. Cloud and Townsend keep love and truth together. A spouse should not use boundaries to avoid vulnerability, punish weakness, or escape normal sacrifice. Marriage requires service, patience, forgiveness, and shared burdens. The boundary question is whether love is free and truthful or coerced and resentful. This episode brings the book's main idea into emotional territory. In families, boundaries help adults become adults. In friendship, boundaries make affection honest. In marriage, boundaries protect both unity and personhood. The same principle keeps appearing. I can love you better when I stop pretending I own your life or that you own mine. Thank you for listening to this third episode. In the next part, we move into children, work, and the self, where boundaries become training, leadership, time, money, appetite, and self-control. Final close. The people closest to you do not need a fake yes. They need a real person who can love with a clear heart and a truthful no. Family boundaries are difficult because families do not merely ask for actions. They carry history. A request from a parent may arrive with decades of memory attached. The adult child is not just deciding whether to visit. They are fighting the old fear of being bad, ungrateful, disloyal, or abandoned. That is why the book treats family boundaries as both practical and emotional. One of the strongest family principles is directness. If I have a problem with you, I need to speak with you, not recruit someone else to carry my anxiety. Triangulation feels easier because it avoids confrontation, but spreads confusion. Boundaries invite each person back to their own lane. Speak your own truth to the person involved. The book also warns that family systems often resist change because every role supports the old balance. The responsible one carries. The fragile one collapses. The angry one intimidates. The peacekeeper smooths everything over. When one person steps out of the role, everyone feels the shift. That does not automatically mean the change is wrong. It means the system noticed. Friendship boundaries are subtler because friendship is voluntary. People assume that if a friendship is hard, something is wrong with one person. Cloud and Townsend show that even good people can create unhealthy patterns when honesty is missing. A friendship where no one can say no is not kinder. It is less truthful. Healthy friendship includes the freedom to want different things. One friend may want more time than the other can give. One may need support the other is not equipped to provide alone. One may have a pattern of crisis that exhausts the other. Boundaries allow the friends to name reality before resentment poisons affection. Marriage boundaries require a special kind of courage because the relationship is so close. A spouse's sadness, anger, silence, or anxiety can feel impossible to tolerate. The boundary temptation is either to control the spouse or surrender the self. The book offers a third path. Own yourself clearly while remaining committed to love. This means consequences in marriage must be chosen carefully. They are not threats designed to dominate. They are truthful actions designed to protect what is good and expose what is destructive. If a conversation becomes abusive, pausing it is a boundary. If financial irresponsibility continues, changing access to shared money may be a boundary. The goal is reality, not revenge. The marriage chapter also helps with a common confusion. Sacrifice is not the same as boundarylessness. Marriage includes sacrifice. Parenting includes sacrifice. Friendship includes sacrifice. The question is whether the sacrifice is freely chosen in love or extracted by fear, guilt, intimidation, or avoidance. Across family, friendship, and marriage, the book's message is consistent. Closeness does not erase separateness. In fact, the closer the relationship, the more important healthy separateness becomes. Without it, love becomes fusion, caretaking becomes control, and peace becomes silence.